A year ago, I heard a story that I've been thinking about ever since. The story goes that there were some psychiatrists conducting experiments on kidnapped children out in the middle of a forest in small-town Alabama. So I dropped everything and I drove to Alabama back toward where I grew up. I trekked out into this forest and you'll never believe what I found. An abandoned compound full of thousands of pages of medical records, hundreds of children's toys, children's clothing, boxes and boxes of prescription meds. Someone had just left all of this stuff out in the woods to rot, and that had me wondering why they left. At this point, I knew I needed to find out what had happened in these woods. If children had been harmed, then their stories needed to be told. So I started investigating. A buddy of mine, he grew up near that forest, was positive from the beginning that something criminal had been going on out in those woods.
I feel like between a mix of meth labs manufacturing drugs, stripping copper, dealing in stolen cars, children's files, names that I can't seem to come up with past the point of being there, medical tools, medical waste, drug studies, restraint methods, mentally handicapped kids' personal letters written by parents. There was sexual misconduct that was trying to be treated there.
A year into the investigation, here's the sort of Cliff Notes version of what I found so far. A husband and wife, both psychiatrists, lived out at that compound along with a few other people. They were sued for supposedly billing for services given to a patient that had been dead for months. That's what we call Medicare Medicaid fraud, and I don't know if they were guilty of it or not, but a doctor who worked with them was the one that filed the lawsuit, and he seemed pretty sure. I tracked down the office manager who worked for them at the time, and she said that the FBI straight up raided their offices. Charles, the male doctor, also ended up losing his license. Charles lost his license due to sexual misconduct with the patient, and that's especially disturbing because he specialized in providing services for elderly psychiatric patients who had intellectual or mental challenges. I talked to the General Counsel's office for the state of Alabama's Board of Medical Examiners, and he said that it seemed like a sex for drugs scenario. So from 2009 on, Charles no longer had a medical license in Alabama. After the lawsuit, and after Charles lost his license, Charles and Marilyn opened up a series of group homes throughout Alabama. A group home is a type of facility that takes care of someone who can't really live on their own, often because of psychiatric or mental impairments. And the two doctors were sneaky. They had their sister, Anita, open up the homes so that their names weren't linked to them. Now, I'm just guessing here, but it looks an awful lot like they opened up these group homes so that Charles and Marilyn could continue practicing medicine without needing to get hired by anyone, since their reputations had probably taken a big hit because of the lawsuit. But it gets worse. I found proof that Charles continued practicing medicine for multiple years after he lost his license due to sexual misconduct with the patient. And the state of Alabama didn't do anything about this for years. My work has been covered by a couple of news outlets, but I'm really hoping to find a distributor who will publish the podcast to an audience that they already have. If you want to hear the story from the beginning, look up Why They Left wherever you get your podcasts.